What's happening? I'm John Welbourn. This weekend I was down in Atlanta and I did a talk for a bunch of coaches on what is athleticism. And it was kind of a long journey for me, at least in the talk, and that something I've been thinking about for about 4 or 5 years. But what was kind of cool was I was able to inject a lot of my own inflection and my own memory and just kind of my own experiences within it. And I think it would just be a great information to provide to you guys, in that when I was young, I was always bigger than other kids. I mean, like a lot of, you can imagine a lot of NFL players and a lot of other athletes were a little bigger. And I think I wasn't that, well actually I know I wasn't that coordinated when I was younger and wasn't necessarily that great at sports. I had some really negative experiences pretty early on in that I wasn't a great baseball player. And I think it was just because I lacked coordination, the ability to kind of hand-eye coordination and the ability to do some things, just really were slow in coming. So I boxed and I fought when I was younger, and that actually made more sense to me, but actually the stick and ball sports were kind of a conundrum. And I liked basketball. I could play pretty good defense, I could move, but in terms of how to judge the shots and kind of move in space, I really struggled and just had some really negative experiences. And I think if I had let those experiences really shape me, I probably would have walked away from sports. And as I got a little bit older, 8th, 9th grade, I moved into high school. And I played football because my older brothers played football. And the one thing I really fell in love with and really what helped me was the weight room. I enjoyed training. My brothers were all big, strong guys and played college football. So here was this place that I could go to, this weight room that had, bars and plates and dumbbells and things, and I could lift those and improve upon myself. And I really took to the weight room like a fish to water. And as I started training and getting bigger and getting stronger, I noticed that my athleticism, and more importantly, my hand-eye coordination and just neurologically, everything seemed to wire up. And I was okay as a freshman in high school, but then all of a sudden through weight training, I put on size, muscle, and I could jump higher, I could run better, I could just move. And all of a sudden, that sophomore year, everything got much better. Junior year, and then all of a sudden my senior year, everything kind of blossomed. And I was fortunate to get a scholarship to go play for UC Berkeley. And while I was at UC Berkeley, same deal, you show up, I'm 18 years old, nice smooth shaved kid. I'm looking across at the guy who's got the locker across from me, who's got chest hair and a big beard, and I'm thinking to myself, man, how am I ever going to mature to beat these guys? So what did I do? I went back to right where I started, right where I came from, went back to the weight room. Started training hard and knew that if I could avail myself in the weight room in the off season with training, that I could really morph into the player I knew I always could be, and that's exactly where I started. And through training, putting in those hours, doing extra workouts, asking the coach for more, I ended up growing into, a pretty good player, and went off and, ended up getting drafted and go play in the NFL. And then I got to the NFL, and the transition was much easier from college to the NFL than it was from high school to college. And it just was a matter of really putting the information that I knew and that I had gleaned out over these years into practice. And at that point I went back to what I knew, which was training in the weight room, and really worked on honing my skills. And at that point, I was big enough, strong enough, had a lot of the technique and the ability, and so it's just a matter of putting it all together. But as I did this talk this weekend, I was really remembered. And I've really run into this story with several other NFL players that were late bloomers. Guys that, matured late or grew tall, were kind of awkward and didn't really move all that well, or just weren't that strong or really just that great at football that young. I mean, you can look at J.J. Watt and, Clay Matthews, both walk-ons. Nobody thought that they had any talent, and look how those guys have really come into their own. But that kind of late bloomer. So I want to really give that message to you guys and those coaches to realize that certain athletes need more time to really mature into the player they can be. And really having some negative experiences can really turn a lot of potential really good players off early if they run into those type of things. So my advice is, one, as a coach, look out for those guys. Realize that there's late bloomers out there, or there are kids that might not be able to do it today, but if they put the solid work in the weight room in the off season, they can morph into the player they can be. And then for a lot of the players that are listening to it, relax. Remember, you don't have to be great today. If all of a sudden I see a kid who's, heads and shoulders better at 10 or 11 years old, and, he just happened to mature a little faster than other players, you know, where's he going to be a little farther down the line? So my big thing is realize that, you know, while the proving ground is the gridiron or the pitch or, you know, the baseball diamond, whatever you want to say, you can really do some fantastic things using a very good, smart strength conditioning program, like a lot of like the one we put out here at PowerAthlete. We've worked with many, many young athletes and helped them really develop into who they are, and more importantly, helped, you know, many athletes get scholarships and go on and play in the professional ranks, having worked with also professional athletes as well. So find a smart strength conditioning program and follow it to a T. Always be the guy, because there isn't a single coach that's ever going to be upset by a kid that wants to do more, or wants to be, or wants to put in extra hours, wants to run more. So if anything, as a coach, you want to have to be able to put the reins on a young athlete, being like, no, don't worry, this place isn't going anywhere. We got some more tomorrow. You don't want to have to put the whip to their back. So my only advice is, remember, athleticism is a continuum, which means that it exists forever. So you can have a young athlete here that's really lacking athleticism, and he can work his entire life on that continuum to increase his athleticism. And I've never seen anybody ever reach to the end of that athleticism. You can watch guys like, J.J. Watt and, Odell Beckham Jr., who are, considered some of the best athletes in the world. And those guys are constantly working on their ability to catch a football, to pass rush, to move in space. It never stops. So the crafting of your athletic ability is something that can go on for a lifetime, and you never reach the end of it. You can never fill that cup. So what I want you to think and realize is athleticism isn't something you have or don't. And I've run in and I've talked to so many different people that really don't understand this, because for so long everybody really just has believed that athleticism is something, it's like money. Either have it in your pocket or you don't, and there's no way to go out and earn it. And what I'm here to tell you is that's wrong. Much like money or really anything in this world, you can go out and earn athleticism through hard work, through training, through smart coaching, effort, and more importantly, just maturity and just giving yourself enough opportunities to do this stuff. So, moral of the story is, keep training.